All right. Hey, everyone. I'm really excited today because I'm joined by Brian Hunt, who is CEO of Alta, which is a MarketWise company. He's got a couple of great brands, obviously, with InvestorPlace and TradeSmith. But the reason I'm so excited to have Brian on today is that, in my mind, Brian, you're the leading thinker in terms in the industry, I would say, on editorial and kind of how it relates to product, marketing campaigns, and everything else. So there's a lot of stuff I want to get into with you. But first off, thanks so much for being here, Brian.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the kind words, and excited to chat with you.
Well, let me just, before we get into a lot of the editorial stuff, there was something that you sent over to me that I was reading a while back, and it related to what makes a campaign succeed or bomb. And what I loved about it, among other things, was that the very first thing that you put up there was campaign timing.
Yep.
And how timing is critical, and that it's not necessarily a thing where, hey, I just happen to have an amazing piece of copy and it's going to work whenever I put it out. How do you think about timing, and what does it mean to time a campaign in this industry?
Yeah. At Alta, we often say timing is the most important thing for us on deciding what campaign to launch at a given time. We like to say that decent copy about the right idea at the right time, copy that's a 5 out of 10 will always be copy that's a 10 out of 10 in terms of quality persuasion. That is about the right idea at the wrong time. And, my friend Joe Schriefer calls the concept, like, if it's an idea, the timing wise is it un-F-uppable, because the timing is so good. And, I like that expression. So we're obsessed with timing. Like, for example, in, for the last 4 or 5 years, our companies, InvestorPlace and TradeSmith, at various times we have written about artificial intelligence. Like, we've been doing it for a long time, both in terms of incorporating it into our systems and also writing about how it's going to be a game changer. And we had some really successful promotions, but in November of last year, Chat GPT was dropped, and then all of a sudden the world realized that this is going to be a big deal. We're like, yeah, we told you so. And we in December, we made the conscious decision that timing for AI was a big deal. We thought, the timing is right for this. So we very quickly tilted over 50% of our campaign resources to AI, both the front end and the back end. And so in 2023, we've had several hugely successful front ends about AI. We've had some hugely successful back end campaigns that leverage that. And was our copy phenomenal? I like to think so, but there was other phenomenal pieces of copy out there that our copy was competing with, but the timing was perfect. People were realizing that this is a big deal. The stocks were going up, and so those packages really did really well. So, and it was, is a big deal was the timing of it. And the timing can change on a dime. We all remember that, like, in 16, 17, cannabis packages were doing really well, and the timing was really great for those. And then it turned on a dime. The laws that people were expecting to be passed were not passed. The stocks started going down. And then you could have, the best cannabis copy anybody's ever seen, and it won't do well. So, whether it's technology, whether it's like big global macro ideas, we're obsessed with it. It's a huge part of our process, probably the number one part of it. So yeah, we've got it on posters throughout our office. Like, timing is everything.
Yeah. And so, it sounds like, it's almost like there was a guy that I knew 7 years ago. He was a macro hedge fund manager, and he worked at Morgan Stanley back in the day, and for some big guys like Barton Biggs and some other kind of legends in the space. And, like, I remember him telling me one time that as a macro trader, like every year, there's maybe 2 or 3 ideas that you're going to make all your money with. And that's it.
Yep.
And that really always stuck out to me as kind of the same with FinPub, in that it's like there's going to be a couple of ideas at any given time that the lion's share, especially on the front end of your success, is going to come from. And the hardest part of the business is almost, I mean, there's a lot of hard parts of the business, but is figuring that timing out. What kinds of things can someone do to kind of really understand when is a good time for something?
Yeah. First, I want to agree with you emphatically with what you just said, is that in any given year, there's usually only 2 or 3 really big, enormous ideas that will sell in the newsletter business. And, huge success or failure or medium success, a lot of the time it comes down to, did you hit the big ideas that year? Did you surf on those tsunamis of interest? I remember, I'm not going to name names because I don't want to get in trouble here, but a couple of years ago, I was talking to one of the industry's leading marketers, talking about one of the competitor that was doing really well in 2020 and 2021. They said, well, yeah, the only reason they're having so much success is because they caught the crypto wave and the tech wave. And it's like, well, that's the name of the game. Like, so yeah, how do you figure out timing? It's in our opinion, it's equal parts science and art. Science is the number one thing that we do every day is we look at what's selling. And at MarketWise, there's over 50 products at any given time. There's dozens of campaigns live inside MarketWise. And we look at what ideas are selling, today, because you can look at website clicks, you can look at surveys or whatever, but in our opinion, there's no better survey than what people are buying. They will give you their survey results when they pull out their credit card and buy something. Right. So I think that's a huge part of the battle is every day know what's selling. And then, and that's easily measurable. That's the science part of it. That's huge. The art part that we try to work into it is, we try to say the Wayne Gretzky cliche is, where's the puck going? It's not just about what people are buying now. Is there something coming that will affect what people will buy in the future? Is it going to be a gigantic interest rate hike cycle? Is it going to be, the next generation of AI? Or is it going to be some general market rally or collapse? So, we try to say that we live in the future, and we try to see what's coming around the corner. We try to, we try to think about how people will be feeling. And so we balance out with what's selling now with, just looking at what is in the Wall Street Journal, what's on Zero Hedge, all the popular websites. What is the mainstream media making a big deal about, and also where do we think the market is going? What we like to think that is pretty special about Alta is that we combine what we believe is like the highest level hedge fund quality kind of financial forecasting and analysis with marketing and copy knowledge. So we factor in what we're going to write about copy-wise with our financial forecasts. So that's a big deal. Like, for example, in 2019, we're big believers in exponential technological progress. That's the rate of change in the world is speeding up. It's getting faster every year. It's creating huge winners and huge losers at rates we've never seen before. And the dark side of that is it eliminates jobs and demolishes businesses. Like for every Netflix, there's a Blockbuster. For every Apple, there's a Nokia. And so in 2019, we had this very strong belief about what technological progress was going to do to the stock market and businesses. But then we also knew that people, like the wealth inequality and worries over it, it was one of the biggest emotional hot button issues on the planet. So we took those ideas and put them together into a series of front-end promotions. The first one was called Technochasm. The next one was called One Percenter. And we explained our thesis. We wove in this wealth inequality stuff, and the result is over the last 5 years that individual idea in its various forms, I believe, has generated over 300,000 front-end orders for us. So the timing of our thesis about where the stock market at certain industries was going, we tried to time that with how we felt people were feeling at the time. And another example is in the next 12 months, people are going to be losing their minds over the presidential election, Trump versus Biden. And believe me, we are getting our surfboard, waxed up. We are going to try and surf on that tsunami of emotion and interest.
Yeah, that's I love that. And I love so many things in there. But I think maybe this is why I think of you guys as kind of MarketWise in general, and I think you in particular, Mike Palmer. There's a few people who really are kind of at the peak of the industry in terms of skill sets. And I think it is kind of this idea of marrying that institutional level analysis at the higher levels with the highest level of direct response copy knowledge, and keeping your finger on the pulse of what's getting attention, because internet marketing is attention arbitrage. And marrying those two things together, it's like, one of my pet peeves for a while in the industry, talking to lots of people, has been a lack of interest on the marketing copy side in markets, right? And it's like, how can you function in this industry if you don't have some kind of an interest in markets and how they impact even just the customer's attention? And a lot of the problems I see with copywriters who never seem to do well in the industry and they do well in other industries, is because they know copy, but they don't understand how to merge those ideas in with what's happening in the market and how it impacts people. And so I love that frame that you have on this. But I think this is a good lead in here with what you said on kind of this 3-year theme, a package that could last for 3 years. That you've been a huge proponent of having thematics for a guru, and how important that is, and it has knock-on effects throughout the entire brand and business. Could you kind of speak to that? First, what's important? Why is it important to have big themes? And then what is a good thematic?
That's another thing that we're obsessed with. Of course, to us, it starts on the front end, but we try to keep, carry those themes into the back ends, so there's that sort of continuity. And we're obsessed with those. I learned, a lot of what I know from Bill Bonner and Porter, and Mark Ford, who are just, constantly preaching the importance of the great, big, enormous, compelling idea. And, I've defined it in my own head, and, to our staff is this idea going to change the world? Is it going to affect billions of people? Would 60 Minutes do, multiple shows about this? Would you watch a documentary on it? And that big monster theme, it's almost never like a 6-month thing. It is a tectonic shift in how the world works. And those tectonic shifts, they don't occur over 6 months. They often don't even occur over 6 years. It takes 10, 15 years sometimes. So, for example, those big mega themes can be technology, technological revolutions like the internet in the 90s, definitely a huge one. If you want to go back to the 20s and 30s, it's electricity. Electricity completely changed the world. If we were doing newsletters back then, we would be writing about the new technology of electricity. And now, here in 2023, it's AI. So very often it's a technological revolution. And since we are, technologists, down to our toes, that's often what we write about. But a big theme can also be macroeconomic in nature. Like, for example, for most of the 20th century, the Chinese economy was a mess. It had foreign invasions, it had civil wars, it had a disastrous bout with communism. But in the 80s and 90s, it started freeing up. The country had peace. They started embracing business, and kind of all of a sudden, 1 billion people entered the global economy, starting from a very, very, very low level of wealth. And so China became the world's workshop. China and Western companies started investing hundreds of billions and then trillions of dollars into China, and it began consuming huge amounts of the world's resources like oil, natural gas, zinc, nickel, tin, and that shot commodity prices way, way higher, hundreds of percent higher, like copper, oil, coal. And since commodity producers are leverage plays on the commodity price itself, that sent, the price of oil companies, copper companies, uranium companies, it sent those through the roof. And it really changed global capital flows. It changed how Western companies did business. China entering the global economy was disastrous for a lot of U.S. manufacturing jobs. And so there's this thing that's happening it's changing the price of gas. It's causing your uncle to lose his job, and now he's very upset. For investors, it's sending stocks through the roof, and it's changing geopolitics as we know it. That's a big, big freaking idea. And, at Stansberry, back when that was happening in the early 2000s, we were writing about that. So macroeconomic or technological, there's a few other lesser flavors, but the beauty of the big theme is that the space ads you write, the lift notes you write, the headlines you write, they're extraordinarily compelling. And they're outrageously interesting because the story is outrageously interesting. They are 100% authentic, and they're incredible, and they catch your attention. And they're ideas that you'll tell your golfing buddies or your family about. Like, did you know China is doing this? Or did you know there's this new thing called the internet? Or did you know that AI is doing this? Another component of that big idea is when we see non-investors losing their minds over it, we know it's probably a big idea. When my friends from high school that, they almost never invest, when they're calling me up and saying, hey, what's going on with this? I know it's a big idea. So that's kind of like part of the art of knowing if it's a big idea or not. So, and the beauty, another great part of it is, once you develop the institutional expertise about that idea and you develop an archive of copy that's effective front end and back end, is these things usually last years. So with that body of copy I was talking about with technological change and its effect on wealth inequality, we have to this day, we dropped that copy in 2019. We are still using parts of it today here in 2023. So you get these enormous returns on time and energy invested because it's this very long-legged idea that plays out over years. And as long as people are interested in it, you just keep, of course, you're coming up with new leads, new versions of it. But that core of the copy, like the ideas, the whole company develops this institutional knowledge, and you're able to leverage and rerun parts of your old copy. Like, you get these extraordinary returns on time invested. So it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I also love like the way that it kind of allows you to think about the structure of your business then, because you basically are saying you have there's this large macroeconomic, there's this large technological, whatever the thematic is that you believe is a persistent, important thing. There will be within that, there's already a certain amount of attention that you're going to get. And you also realized from that perspective that there's going to be a lot of return in there over time. And so there's going to be an ebb and flow of attention within that.
Yep.
So like, but every time there's a new story or a new event or a new thing that happens related to that, you get another spike of attention that is great for promotion, allows your existing customers to be like, yeah, they're right. And so for the next product, you have that relationship.
Definitely.
So I love that frame, but for a lot of folks, like how would you think about this in terms of a trading editor? Like, I mean, the trading side of the business is famously harder to editorialize, I feel like. And so like, how do you guys deal with this? I know with TradeSmith, you have a software, you have tools.
Yep.
Are you dealing with thematics with the tool side of the business as well in the same way? Like, how would you apply that in a slightly different product?
Yeah. That's a great question, because if you bring people on the front end or a free e-letter, say with tech, which we've done a lot over the last 5 years, what then do you give to them on the back end? And we often, one of our first back ends that we will create, or at least it's high up on our decision tree, is how can you invest in this mega trend with small cap stocks under $5 billion. And that will often be one of the back ends that we roll out. So maybe it's China consuming the world's resources. We'll get you the junior resource stocks, that could go up big time as a result of that. It's not for everybody, potentially more upside, more risk, but for the people that are sophisticated, you might like this. Same way with technology. You can do the small caps on AI. Then you could do options on AI stocks, or, to go back to the China analogy, it's like options on resource stocks, whether you're selling options or buying options. And then you also have what we call special situation portfolios. Another name you could give these is finite lifespan products. Is if you get people that are losing their minds over a trend, an opportunity, and you're bringing on tons of people on the front end, is you could go out to these people and say, look, we think this thing is going to explode and play out over the next 3 years. So what we're going to do today, in this event, is we're going to roll out a 9, 10, 11, 12 stock portfolio that you can buy all of these, treat it as one position. This is what a hedge fund would do, by the way. They'll buy a basket of these things and they'll own it for 2 or 3 years. And then as this trend plays out, we're going to get rid of it. We'll sell, take our profits and go home. And so you give them the entire portfolio right there off the bat. And then you might do like a monthly update that's 1 or 2 pages about that trend. But you gave them the whole portfolio right there off the bat. And Porter Stansberry, among his many innovations, this is one of his great innovations, was that limited shelf life portfolio product where you get the entire portfolio right there, instead of stock picks throughout the year. And that's a beautiful way to take that back end and sell it on the front end. As far as, sort of fast money trading products, yeah, I think it's often very, very difficult to tie that into the big trend. So that could be something where if you've got, a big shot analyst that's selling on the front end, and at that point it becomes like a relationship sale, where you say, look, I do this other thing over here, fast money trading, and they buy it because they like the person. So, but we found that those other products I just described, like small caps and using options to express trades on a trend, or that special situations product, we usually prefer those over the short-term trading product. Like I've got nothing against short-term trading or the products. We've got those, but I've just found more analysts, a greater percentage of analysts like those other ideas that I just described and are more able to provide great value rather than trying to trade those short-term ups and downs.
Yeah, no, I think what I've seen with a lot of companies who have like kind of the short-term trading products, even the ones that are, fairly successful, what they end up in is a situation where there's a limit on the size of the business because there's a limit on the size of the attention you can get.
Yeah.
It could be a very good business, and there's some $20, $30 million companies that, and even a little bit higher, that can do very well. But I think that's what it is that they're selling kind of like the strategy becomes like the core strategy, momentum or whatever becomes the core idea. That strategy is never going to get the news hits. It's never going to get that kind of popular attention that you're going to have on a trend. And so you're fundamentally limited on the front end unless it's somehow married to those ideas in more of a newsletter kind of classic format that you're talking about.
Yeah. A great example of that was, Legacy 3 or 4 years ago was the leader on jumping on the crypto mega trend. And so brought on tons of people with front end promotions about that. And then the back end that they sold an enormous amount of was, here are smaller cryptos that you can buy. Not for everybody, higher upside, higher downside. And it wasn't like we're going to trade crypto daily movements. It was the smaller cryptos. And so that tied in really nicely with that big captivating idea that people were in love with. I thought that was a neat example of you got the big trend that lends itself to front ends and back ends that have that continuity.
Yeah. And that's, I think like, again, it's like kind of I'm trying to highlight these core fundamentals because it's so easy for people to get kind of lost in the weeds of, hey, we have this idea, we have this thing. And a lot of editorial that I read in promo that goes with it is very hodgepodge-ish from the same guru. How do you think about so you have these long thematics. Some people are better or better exponents of a particular trend than others, right? Like it's kind of like if you had a value investor and you have Warren Buffett versus like me, there's a fundamentally different level of credibility, even if the picks were exactly the same, right?
Yep.
How do you think about like what makes a good guru? Do you try and expand on the quality of the guru in terms of his connections within a trend? Like, how do you work within the thematic in terms of, kind of edifying and building up your guru or choosing a guru for a trend?
Yeah. We have this formulaic process when it comes to evaluating front end ideas. And, it's 6 questions that you ask yourself about this idea. And if you can answer all 6, you probably have got something, you probably got a tiger by the tail. If you can't answer all 6, maybe not. And one of the 6 is the analyst that I want to sell, does he have credibility in this field? And, look, there's been plenty of front end promotions where an analyst didn't have great credibility in that field and it still sold really, really well just because the timing was great, the copy was great. But what we found is when you can get that factor working in your favor, it's a really great part of the formula for success. So, for example, if you're wanting to make a big macroeconomic prediction, like let's say right now, maybe you're going to say that there's going to be a serious credit collapse and an economic recession, or maybe you want to say that interest rates on the debt are about to explode, interest rates will go up, gold's going to go to 2,500, and we're going to go into recession. Someone like Porter or a Jim Rickards, that message ties in with what they believe and their bio. And so, in my opinion, Porter is the all-time best at every aspect of that. It's coming up with the idea of, writing the copy about it, writing the product about it. So, if I wanted to do that, I would say like, let's get someone, like Porter to do that if he believes it. But let's say you want to write a promotion about a couple years ago, 5G. 5G is going to change the world, or self-driving cars will change the world. If you can have somebody with serious tech credibility and a lot of great tech calls, then we really love to do that. So yeah, that's a big deal. If someone has got a background in technology, or if it's like global macro, do they have a track record of getting a lot of big calls right? Are they passionate about it? That's a big thing too. Is we always try to align the passion of the analyst with that idea, because if you got that passion, it makes everything better. If the analyst is going to that idea like you're pulling a recalcitrant mule, towards the idea, it's not gonna be fun. It's probably gonna fail. So that's a big deal for us is get that analyst who's got that credibility, that knowledge about the idea. And we want them so excited about that idea that they want to shout about it from the rooftops. And that's, for us, that's where, to go back to how do you manage the business, is you really, in our opinion, you gotta have, the campaigns are starting with an incredible investment idea that we love. Or if it's a back end, it's about an incredible trading strategy that an analyst would jump up and down. That's where our campaigns start from, is that passion that I want to shout about this from the rooftops. So when you get that into the right guru and the right idea at the right time, you usually got magic. But that, letting the investment thesis or the trading strategy, that drives the bus for us. And I can't envision running this business any other way versus, hey, we came up with this crazy metaphor about a shitty strategy, and we don't even really care if the product is that good or not. We just know it could sell. So we're going to do $10 million worth of it. None of us know how it works. None of us care how it works. We're going to run refund rates of 60%, but hey, at least we'll keep 4 million of that 10 million. What a horrible way to go through life, and a horrible way to go through. So, that's what we believe. It's not for everybody, but yeah, I think you got to have that authenticity of the analyst, that passion, and you got to believe deeply that this is a great idea. We often call it, does it feel like a for-profit humanitarian mission?
Yeah.
When we were bullish on AI in December, we saw our job as, look, I would go to your house, John, and like sit down with you over coffee and say, dude, you have got to invest in AI. This is going to change the world. If you're on the wrong side of it, you're screwed. If you're on the right side of it, you'll make a ton of money. And we felt that way. We wanted to shout about it from the rooftops. And, we wrote that copy. It was authentic. It was aggressive, clever, and it hit the market at the right time. And to my knowledge, it's the number one selling front end on the planet this year. So,
yeah. Yeah. I love talking to you because there is, like, in direct response businesses in general, I mean, any industry, but you have, it's like there's like the marketing hitmen. They're almost like these kind of like roving grifters who, I can come in and there's an offer I know I can make right now and I can sell it, and, it'll work because it's the timing. They're really good at timing usually. Terrible at everything else, like customer fulfillment, relationship, product. And those people don't like, they float through like the FMS community, but they're usually gone really fast because we have there's more serious people who are actually trying to build a business. And there's a difference between a publishing business than I'm an offer owner who just, I want to have a funnel that works for whatever. And I don't care about the customer other than how much money I can keep after refunds. And I think that like this is building a publishing business. Like, you're here to build a business, you're here for the long term. You're trying to build a customer base that you retain, that you can, ascend into a higher value customer segments, and actually have a sustainable business that lasts through rough cycles, which as an industry, we don't have very often. I mean, you think about like this last year and a half is painful. We're coming out of it, but it's been since 2010, 2009, really that we're in that state. And so I think that that's the key differentiator here in terms of like the approaches, is that there's a sustainable business approach and then there's the kind of like direct response grifter approach. The grifters can go away from the industry because it hurts everybody. Like that's the interesting thing about our industry, is that the more people who are doing the right thing, the more people who are growing, the better it is for everybody, because that means there's more lists, there's more traffic, there's more talent, more affiliates. And so I definitely appreciate your framing and approach on these things, because I think it's something that it's very easy in the high points when the grifters are making money for people to look at them and be like, I should be doing that. And it's like, no, you shouldn't. Their businesses are gone.
Well, Porter is a great evangelist about this, as he points out that the business gets better over time because you build up a big base of people that love you and trust you. And so when you write that new backend, you get higher conversion rates, higher upsell rates, because you put in that brand equity, that service to that person. And we all know that when you get higher conversion rates, higher lifetime values, the business gets easier. Like it takes a lot of work in those years putting in all that. Man, it's as someone who's banged his head up against products and people for 20 years now, it is bloody hard to create a great product consistently. It's really hard. You gotta pay smarter people more money to be a part of it. But once you do it, you start building a moat around your business. All the good numbers get better because people love you and trust you. All the bad numbers go down, like the refund rates go down because you build up those years of service to that person. So once it's hard, man. It's really, really hard. It's so much easier to just put whatever on your website, buy this option for this price, tell people to make 800% in 3 days. It is so much easier to do that than the alternative of what we're talking about. But I don't mind that there are all these jackasses, doing their thing, because it makes us look better by comparison, So
yeah, for sure. And actually, like you sent me this book that you put together for internal use on how to succeed in financial newsletters, and one of the sections that really struck out to me is titled "The Incredible Value of Great but Hard to Sell Products." And the value of that, and I loved it, and I'd love you to kind of like talk through that if you wouldn't mind, because I think it speaks to this relationship issue quite well. So this is not something that you see big presentations on, because it doesn't directly make someone $10 million. Once again, I learned this from Porter, is there were some products we had at Stansberry. They were really, really great, and serious investors loved them. But we wouldn't sell, like $5, $6, $7, $8 million of these things a year. And so some people would say, why the hell are we publishing these things? Well, they added brand value to the entire company. That was great. And also, when they're part of your lifetime bundle, these are back-end products, so they carry $1,000 or $2,000 price tag. And so if you include these in your bundle, it allows you to raise the value of the bundle, and then you can discount it and sell it to people. And you can tell people, look,
there's nothing like this there's nothing else like this product on the planet. It's great. The track record's great, and it's not for everybody, but you might like this if you are a sophisticated investor. Now, it could be buying corporate bonds. It could be, buying certain small cap stocks. It could be applying a more sophisticated option strategy that most people are used to. But, having a couple of those inside a bundle, we believe is a great idea. Serious people absolutely love it, and it allows you to increase the price of your bundle. And man, it just feels good to publish something where you're happy to send it to your uncle or your college, your friend from college, or you'll take it to an industry event and say, we do this. That's just it feels good. And now I always say you don't want to go overboard on this, because you could end up paying 8 analysts to create 8 products that nobody will buy. And but depending on the size of a publishing company, 1 or 2, I think is a great idea.
No, I love that. And you use the word that so many people in direct response get their hackles up with. And you said brand value. And I always laugh at how, and this is a copywriter driven thing of kind of we're better because we don't use branding, we sell. And there's definitely truth in that, but brand value actually matters. And it's just understanding what brand value is. And it's essentially your company's reputation with the customers and market, right?
Yeah.
Reputation matters.
Yeah. Copywriters might not think they're writing, that they're working brand value into a piece of copy, but they often unknowingly do. When you're emphasizing how either a company or a single analyst has created value for his readers in the past, that is that analyst's brand value. If I say Luke Lango found this stock 2 years ago and now it's up 500%, like us reminding you of that Luke did that for you when you're there, or if you weren't there, like you could have been. That's Luke's personal brand, and by association, it's the company's brand. And so we do it often unknowingly in copy. That person's credibility, this is a business where most of these businesses are based on readers having a relationship with one person or multiple people, and that's kind of a brand. And you can cultivate that. You can cultivate it in the company and saying that you're a leading high quality publisher of this stuff. We publish things you can't get anywhere else, and that has huge revenue producing effects that we've seen. And it can allow you to get a lot of sales that you don't have to work all that hard for, through maintenance revenue and recurring revenue, because people love what you do and they love the brand.
Right. And that, just as, and we don't have a ton of time here, but that kind of unique editorial proposition is something you've written about here. And it's kind of goes along with that, and that how important it is. Everyone knows of the USP, unique selling proposition, but a unique editorial proposition, I think, is something that is not, no one else talks about it besides you, to my knowledge.
Yep.
Could you kind of elaborate on what that is and how that kind of goes in with this idea of building like a unique kind of relationship with the customer?
Yeah. When it comes to products, we are obsessed with this concept of being unique, doing something nobody else is doing, the unique editorial proposition. And this can happen in many different ways. For example, take Louis Navalier, one of Alta's top selling analysts, for decades. He has had a quantitative grading system that analyzes business quality, analyzes institutional money flows into the stock, analyzes earnings growth, and it takes all those factors and boils them down into one grade, A, B, C. And Louis built an entire career on that unique analytical system. That's his UEP. And he has got an army of followers that love that stuff. You know, if they get together at a conference, they're like, oh, this stock's a B, this stock's an A, you know, that stock's a C, so I didn't buy it. And so they love that. You know, another one of the greatest UEPs I've ever seen is the gold stock analyst John Duty has got his own proprietary way to analyze gold companies. And he can put two gold producers next to each other, and he's got his proprietary analytical system and can say very quickly, this one's better than this one. You know, their deposit's better, they're a more efficient business, blah, blah, blah. Or, you know, at Alta with TradeSmith, we've got proprietary option analytic metrics that you can't get anywhere else. Like one of our products has a tool called probability of profit. And it's got a really cool graphic that shows like a probability cone of what's going to happen with your trade. So it's got a cool name, probability of profit, AKA POP. It's got a cool graphic, and it's amazingly valuable and useful. It's like the holy trinity of like UEPs. Looks cool, sounds cool, is cool. So, yeah, it can be like a software program. It can be an analytical model. You know, one thing I feel like we don't see enough that can be a UEP is a writer who kind of sees himself as a journalist that goes out and travels and gets boots on the ground and talks to expert and gets their insight and puts it into the publication. I'd love to see more of that in our industry. The downside is it's like a lot of traveling, it's expensive. But if you read Jim Grant's Interest Rate Observer, one of his UEPs is that he has a small team of analysts, and if they're going to write about an industry, say farming or oil drilling, one of those analysts is going to call multiple people inside that industry and talk to them. How's it going? What's it like? What's going on? What is not being reported in the news? And those people, especially at private companies, they will talk your ear off because they love seeing their name in print, especially if it's Jim Grant. They, and they love talking about what they do. So that's a UEP that Jim Grant has that a lot of people don't do. And, you know, is it going to be the subject of a headline? No, but it's just super, super cool. And as an investor, when Jim Grant writes about oil drilling and he's quoted 3 insiders, that issue is so clearly better than someone who sat behind their desk and just read the Financial Times and did some analysis. The stock picks might be equally good, but that experience is incredible, like way better with Jim Grant. You know, so it might be just someone's personality, their writing style, their storytelling. You know, Richard Mayberry, who is awesome. He's written the Uncle Eric series of books. Richard Mayberry has got a whole glossary of terms. He's got his books that he can refer to. And yeah, so I love to see someone having their own glossary, their own set of terms, their own proprietary metrics. I love to see when someone has written a book on it. You know, when someone can say, well, you know, I know a thing or two about options. I literally wrote the book on it. So those sorts of things, you know, I could talk all day about UEPs because they come in all shapes and sizes and flavors. And I'm a big believer that if you can get 2, 3, 4, 5 UEPs into your product, you just immediately set it apart from the crowd.
Yeah, no, I love that because that's I think it's easy for a lot of people in the industry. You get so caught up with the copy to kind of forget that like copy is selling a thing, that the better you make that thing, the more unique, the more powerful, the more intriguing.
Yeah.
The better you can use it in copy.
Yeah. We at Stansberry, and here, you know, inside Alta, like every day, I tell people this obsession with customer experience and product quality and having all these cool features. Yes, these are product decisions to the person that doesn't see the whole picture. To the person that sees the entire picture, these are marketing decisions we're making too. These are copy decisions because they make our thing better and it leads to higher quality ideas. And we tell the copywriters, like, run with that idea. And so if you see the whole picture, you know that you're creating copy assets in addition to customer experience assets.
I always see that right there is one of the things that you notice in like the top level copywriters in the industry is that they have suggestions for the editor and the product that are to improve the product so that they have a better thing to sell. And like, I feel like I've seen enough people now who've, they have opinions on the product because they understand that, like, just like timing matters, within that timing, there are things that you can sell better than other things. And the better you have that combination, the better their copy is going to do. And so they care about the product versus kind of, and some of this is confidence, experience. Some people are just like, well, like whatever you got, like I can write that.
Yeah. And, for anybody out there that will see this, is that if you're a publisher, if you're a copywriter, if you're an analyst, something that's really powerful that we preach big time here at Alta, and we talk about this idea with our team all the time, is, I say, guys, if there is anything that this product that we're talking about doesn't have as part of its offer, or as part of its everyday experience, please let us know. We will try to incorporate that, because our copywriters, they read all kinds of copy, they look at all kinds of products. And if you see a great idea that is helping increase conversion rates or is helping increase customer happiness, let us know. The editorial side is famous for big egos, but we just tell our analysts and our publishers, like, put your ego to the side, because if someone's got an idea like, oh, I saw this other company doing this, like, let us know. We'll work really hard to incorporate that. And we'll just take, ideas from all over the entire business world, and we'll try to incorporate that. So, let's collaborate. Let's continually make these things better. And, that's a really powerful source of editorial ideas and customer success ideas. They'll come from your marketers and their copywriters. So you got to be talking constantly and collaborating, and it can all come together and work harmoniously.
That's fantastic. And with that, I think we're kind of running out of time here. So thanks, Brian, for doing this. I really, really appreciated this. I've wanted to talk to you for quite a while. I'd love to have you back, because I feel like there's so much more, but also just thanks for being kind of the almost like, I feel like, a proselytizer in the industry for higher quality product, higher quality ideas, because it elevates all of us. So
yeah, well, thanks for having me on, and thanks for what you do. I think what you're doing is great for the industry, and I enjoy talking with you. So hopefully we'll do it again soon and see each other in person soon.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Brian. Thanks. Take care.
All right. Thank you.